Good day, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Evina Quill. You might have heard of me, but not by this name. In most folktales and stories, I go by a different name, the Evil Queen. But these stories are written by evil people, crafty men who seek to alter and twist the truth. Now, it's time for you to hear the true story. With a narrator, of course. A true queen never tells her own story.
It all started one winter morning when a handsome young man knocked on the castle gates.
My queen, I've come to ask for Snow White's hand in marriage. I've heard that she's the most beautiful girl in all these lands.
He was courteous, charming even, but the queen felt that there was something off with him. There was something strange about the way he stood, slightly hunched over as if something perpetually hung over his head. His mouth smiled and spewed praises, but it strained to reach his eyes.
Thank you for your visit, but my stepdaughter's far too young and still far too naive to be married just yet. Guards, please show our esteemed guest to the door.
Thank you, Your Majesty. If you don't mind, I'd like to take a walk in your garden. I've heard your apple trees are beautiful this time of the year.
So the charming prince took a stroll around the gardens. On his way, he met the royal hunter, who had just returned from the annual winter hunt. The prince smiled. A plan was starting to take shape, a plan which could give him everything he wanted.
Excuse me, sir. Could you do me a favor?
The prince clasped the hunter's hand tightly in his own, and a daze seemed to come over the hunter. His eyes clouded over, and his jaw fell slack.
The queen commands you to take Snow White into the Shadow Woods and carve out her heart. You are to bring it back as proof of her loyalty to her. That is the official order. But how could you do such a terrible thing to such a young girl? Instead, you leave the princess in the woods to flee and bring the heart of the deer you caught today back to the queen. You tell everyone of the vicious queen and the cruel orders. Make no mention of my name.
Yes, master.
The prince smirked. It was all going according to plan. That night, the princess was lured out into the woods by the hunter. They walked and walked deeper into the heart of the shadow woods. Here it seemed that the air hung a little heavier, and each step taken by Snow White got a little slower. Once the birds no longer chirped, the hunter revealed what he had been told.
Your mother means to have you murdered, princess.
What? That can't be. My stepmother loves me.
Run, princess, run!
I don't have any money or friends. Where will I go?
Into the forest. Hurry, princess, you don't have much time. Be strong.
Lips trembling, Snow White bid farewell to the hunter and ventured on alone. She did not know how long she walked for, but suddenly she saw a clearing up ahead. There was a break in the dense tree canopy, and warm sunlight basked down onto a small hut in the center of the clearing. Snow White was inexplicably drawn to this quaint little hut. As she got closer, a gruff, kind voice called out to her. Out of the hut emerged 7 bearded dwarfs.
Snow White, you must be tired from your long travels. Please rest in my humble abode while you recover your strength.
Sounds great. so warm. Maybe I'll just take a short nap.
Her eyelids grew heavy, and Snow White duly registered that morning had come. The night was spent wandering aimlessly around the forest. She never once questioned how the dwarfs knew her name. The next morning, the queen went down for breakfast as per normal. But there was something wrong with the castle staff. As she tucked into the pearl grapes from the kingdom up north, the servants and cooks whispered behind fluttering hands, all refusing to meet her eye.
Evil queen? Why are they calling me that? Butler, explain this at once.
The butler's mustache trembled, and just as he was about to reply, the doors to the great hall burst open with a colossal bang. The royal hunter strode in and dumped a stained burlap sack onto the table.
I have brought you Snow White's heart, Your Majesty, just as you ordered.
What? I have done no such thing. Guards, seize this man.
Back in her chambers, the queen paced about restlessly. Snow White couldn't be dead. She just couldn't. She whirled around to the ornate mirror hung on the wall, coming face to face with the inscription, Speculum de Veritas, the mirror of truth.
Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all?
Why, my queen? Of course, it is your beautiful stepdaughter, Snow White.
The queen heaved a sigh of relief. If Snow White was truly dead, the mirror wouldn't have named her.
Where is she now? Snow White is in the Shadow Woods? Oh no, she's been lured in by the dwarves. She must be rescued. But how? All my guards have turned on me. I shall rescue her myself.
The queen hastily pulled her traveling cloak over her head and rushed down into the gardens, careful to avoid the notice of the castle staff. There she plucked off the center tree the reddest, juiciest apple, and off she went. The queen rode fast and hard through the village, ignoring the jeers of evil queen from the villagers. She had a mission. She had to save Snow White. As night fell, the queen finally arrived at the dwarf's hut. It had not escaped her notice that as she ventured deeper into the forest, she started to age much quicker. After an entire day's ride, her skin was wrinkled and her hair had turned grey. She looked nothing like herself. The queen, however, reassured herself that Snow White would recognize her and approached the hut slowly.
Snow White, my dear, it's me, your stepmother. I promise I did not order anyone to kill you. I love you so much. Please come home.
Mother, I knew you wouldn't order me killed. Is that an apple from our gardens? May I have it? I'm starved.
Snow White grabbed the apple from the queen's hand and took a large bite out of it. It was then that the queen realized that the red apple had turned a sickly grey. It had been poisoned by the evil of the forest. She reached out a hand to slap it away, but it was too late.
What is this? Mom, help me.
Snow White's face turned pale and she slumped onto the forest floor.
You monster! You killed Snow White!
No! Snow White, I didn't mean to. Please, wake up.
Hot tears rolled down the queen's face as she crouched over Snow White's limp form. How could this happen? She had done all she could. Why was the prince blaming her? Wait, why was the prince here in the first place? A sickening realization began to form in her stomach. The prince had set up the queen. He knew that she was going to come rescue Snow White and poisoned her apple with the pure evil of the Shadow Woods.
You're not some prince from a faraway land. You're the Shadow Heretic. You tricked me. You were going to frame me for Snow White's murder and then use your powers to heroically save her. And then what? Marry my stepdaughter and take control of my kingdom while I rot away in a jail cell, the disgraced, evil queen. You're pathetic.
The queen felt a tidal wave of rage simmering in her stomach. Clenching her fists, she chanted an old spell she had learnt from the ancient library archives.
Milady Maker, mischief broker, you shall create no more horror. Let this be your last breath, for you shall be banished forevermore to the depths.
No!
The prince's words faded away as he disintegrated into fine dust and blew away in the wind. Turning back to Snow White, the queen gathered all her strength and poured her magic into one final spell.
Snow White, please come back to me.
Mom, what happened? Why are we on the floor? And why does my mouth taste like rancid fruit? Ew.
The queen heaved a sigh of relief and pulled Snow White close. And so mother and daughter were reunited once more. It was proclaimed that Snow White was to learn to rule by the queen's side until she was one day old enough to take over the kingdom. The queen would teach her to be kind, just, and clever, and would teach her how to defend herself from the dangers of the world. In the meantime, the queen vowed to always keep her close and protect her from those who sought to harm her. As a tribute to their brave queen, the people engraved her initials onto the grand apple tree in the royal gardens. This tree and its engraving was to stand the test of time, weathering storms and suns alike. Many, many, many years later, adventurers discovered this very apple tree, now old and gnarled, but with the letters EQ still carved deeply into it. These adventurers spun stories about great civilizations and tragic betrayals. They claimed that the initials EQ stood for Evil Queen and concocted rich fairy tales of a jealous queen and her poisoned apples. Most will never know the true story of Irina Quill, but you do. In her story, untarnished by history's curse, Irina Quill became one of the most beloved and greatest queens of her time. In her story, she got to live out her happily ever after. The end.